if you're in deep service to Bhagwan or your guru and you're living life as free as you can, you don't age. You just don't age. You remain a child. And it reminds me of in the Bible, actually, it says the children will inherit the kingdom of heaven,
Mm.
right? So anybody that has that childlike innocence and has that laughter, those are going to be the first people that inherit enlightenment, inherit the kingdom of heaven.
A safe place somewhere in the woods we can start the fire. And we all sit around the fire. We feel a little warmer now. And we all sit around.
Welcome, Swami Prem Karuna. Welcome to the podcast. So you're telling me a little bit about your path. You're telling me about where you're from. You're a disciple of Osho, which is really interesting, really cool. I haven't met yet any disciples of Osho, so I'm very curious what you have to say about Osho, because actually I really like Osho. He's a great guy. So maybe you can say a little bit about who is Osho?
That's a beautiful question. I don't think anybody's asked me that before. Who is Osho? What is Osho should be the better question. Of course, if you say who, a lot of people are going to say, well, he's a man with a bunch of controversies around him. But what he is outside of that is just like how any other guru is. It's just a window to you.
Mm.
And that's what Osho said all the time, really, is I'm not your guru, first of all, I'm your friend. It's just a milieu between you and I, a relationship, you could say. But I'm just a window for you to find yourself and realize yourself. What you do in between with your life is up to you.
Okay. Okay,
And you
beautiful.
know, that's my perspective because once you start to meet any other Osho sannyasins or disciples, the greatest thing he taught us was be your own individual. So everybody you meet within the Osho communities, they're all going to be different. They might not be as loving or compassionate as me. Some of them might be really strict and hard, hard as a brick wall. And then some of them are going to be the greatest people you meet. Just like meeting humans on everyday paths. Not every one of them you're going to like, but some of them you'll be best friends with. Just like how you and I met today through a great friend.
Yes, yes, definitely. There's many ways up the mountain, so you can be your own individual. Maybe not
Yes.
every. I like to say not every way is a way up the mountain. Like if I bang my head against the wall, maybe I won't get enlightened. But there are many paths. There's bhakti, there's different teachers, there's different religions even. So
That's right. There's many ways up the mountain of love.
mm. So what do you think is one of the biggest things that you've learned from Osho? Because I've seen lots of his discourses. I really like hearing him talk about, the ultimate enlightenment, and I like hearing him talk about the path there, observing the body, observing the mind. I've never actually, I know that he had some kind of dynamic meditation practices that he would teach and a whole bunch of stuff. So what do
Yeah,
you,
it's the funniest thing. People ask me that, like, was the greatest thing you learned when you went with him meditation? Was it transcending suffering? Was it these big philosophical things? And I always laugh and say, no, he taught me how to be myself. He taught me
okay.
just to celebrate every moment I get. Because when I was with other teachers and other people in life, especially in the social media when I was going on my spiritual path, they said, do this vow, do this meditation. Don't watch TV, don't listen to music. You have to be celibate. You have to do this, you have to do that. A lot of don'ts, right? And then I met Osho and he said, I don't care what you do, enjoy life. And the greatest lesson I got out of that, and I tell everybody this in my community, what's the point of living if you're already 1 foot in the grave? And what
Mm.
that means is you're running away from everything you want to do. People tell you don't eat the cake. They tell you don't enjoy the movies because they rot the mind. Osho tells us as long as you make that cake a meditation, you make the movie a meditation, what's the problem? Just a little bit of awareness is all you really need.
Mm.
Because the
Mm.
philosophy of Osho is be a part of the world. He was wanting to work with the more modern man, where a lot of other gurus of that time were having people leave the world behind, leave their families and everything like that. Which isn't a bad thing necessarily, but your mother and father are beautiful, your brother and sister are beautiful. Why leave them behind? It's crazy to think about. Why not bring them into that love of God that you share?
Yeah, that
And you win,
definitely.
God.
Yeah, that definitely
And a
seems to be.
lot of people
Sorry.
hate Osho about that, actually. Now that you ask, is like, he didn't require people to leave their jobs or their family. He said, you have a choice. Heck, you can bring your family here if you want. Imagine your guru telling you that, like, you don't have to leave the world, and then the other gurus around him are saying, no, no, you got to leave the world behind, leave your job, leave everything you love and care about, leave your dog and cat even. They don't matter anymore. It's all Maya. And he's saying, maybe they can love God too. Maybe they can also learn meditation. No problem there.
Yeah, definitely. That kind of reminds me of a story. I don't know if it was Osho or somebody who was asking their teacher, "Do I need to give up cigarettes?" And they actually were like, "No, you don't need to give up anything. Just do meditation." And all the things which don't, if they don't serve you, they'll fall away. You don't need to abandon the world. If it naturally happens, it naturally happens. But you don't need to, go out and.
No, absolutely. And yeah, that is a teaching of Osho's. I'm surprised you remembered that. And
Okay,
thank you
okay.
for bringing it up. Yeah, and that's what Osho said all the time is like, don't force anything in life. It'll come naturally. The longer you do your sadhana, the longer you do your meditations, everything will fall away naturally. But the moment you start forcing yourself to do things, it's like putting too much air in a balloon. Well, what happens to the balloon when you put in too much air? Well, it eventually pops, right? And it's the same thing with human life and human bodies. The moment you start doing things you ain't used to, you start imploding on yourself. You start smoking a whole carton of cigarettes, you start drinking the whole galley of alcohol instead of balancing it out. Because you started going all in, saying, I ain't gonna do this anymore. Then guess what? You did more damage to yourself to begin with.
Mm. Are there any? So you were talking about that there's still some sannyasis. There's still sannyasis who are going around who followed Osho. Are there communities still thriving in the U.S. or elsewhere, or are the communities
Yeah,
disbanded? Or okay,
yeah, there is. So before Osho left the body, he said, I don't want you guys to make any other big communities. He said, make little communes across the world. That way you can serve more people. And so there's communes all over the world now. There's a sannyasin actually that he is 82 years old right now, been serving his about half of his life by the name of Swami Ananda, and he's built a lot of communes over the world. There's one in California. There's some in the UK. I think there's one in New York. One of the bigger communes is, and he's there every day, and you guys can find him on YouTube. Not YouTube, well, YouTube also, Facebook, TikTok. They started doing lives on TikTok actually called Osho Tapoban. Tapoban. And he runs his community out of Nepal. Every day they do arati. He hosts satsangs.
Beautiful,
Every
beautiful.
day he does this. And I always laugh because he's this little 82-year-old Nepali man, right? White beard and everything, and you expect him to be like your grandfather, right? But nah, he's doing arati, dancing, singing, and every now and then, if you're with him in private on his Zoom call, he's gonna crack dirty jokes. So it's funny to see you being with this 82-year-old man, and he's just, you'd never know he was 82. You'd assume he was 50. Young. And that goes to show you that if you're in deep service to Bhagwan or your guru, and you're living life as free as you can, you don't age. You just don't age. You remain a child. And it reminds me of in the Bible, actually, it says, the children will inherit the kingdom of heaven, right? So anybody that has that childlike innocence and has that laughter, those are going to be the first people that inherit enlightenment, inherit the kingdom of heaven. And
That's
that's what
beautiful.
Osho tried to show all of us, really. And that's what I try to show my people in my lives and everything is make every moment you have your last. Because you never really know when you're going to stop breathing. Anything can happen. Anything.
So, how did you find Osho? I think you also mentioned you started the spiritual path when you were 15,
I
and you're
did.
doing
So,
some Buddhist practices.
yeah, Buddhist. I didn't start out with Buddhism, though, actually. I started out with transcendental meditation, right? So I don't know if you know this gentleman, but David Lynch, one of our great directors, the movie Eraserhead, Mulholland Drive, Elephant Man, he did the. I think, I think he did Twin Peaks too, right? So this was right after my great grandma passed away. I was going into homeschooling from being bullied. I had numerous health issues with my stomach, so that's kind of the moment where you don't want to really do much with your life at that point, right? Because you're in pain. And I got to see online this lecture that David Lynch was doing, and he talked about transcendental meditation, and I watched it. And there was this little Indian man he was talking about by the name of Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. I had no idea about any of this stuff. I grew up Christian. Meditation, what's that? Just like everybody else, really. In America, you grow up in one religion and discover other things. And this little Indian guy sat in these white robes and big beard. They called him the giggling guru because every sentence he did, he would giggle. He said, all you got to do 20 minutes a day is chant this mantra we give you. I was like, okay, well, I can do that. I could sit 20 minutes a day and chant a mantra. And that's where I started. And as you bring up, yeah, over time I started practicing Buddhist meditations, Zen tradition, and Theravada tradition especially. And then I really got into the Dalai Lama, so I started practicing a lot of the stuff he gave. And over time I discovered a lot of Hindu practices, and I really loved them. So I've been doing this now for about 6 years. So as of this year, guys, for everybody listening, I'll be 21. Imagine that young man doing what I do.
Awesome,
Never thought it
awesome.
would happen. But yeah, 6 years of meditating. I'd never look back.
Do you have a favorite sort of meditation you've learned over the years? Or maybe some one that's interesting that you might maybe is noteworthy?
Yeah, the same meditation I told everybody else, and I sat with a teacher one day when he taught me this meditation. One of his disciples asked him about meditation, and he looked back and asked him, "Hey, do you like Ozzy Osbourne? What about Alice Cooper, AC/DC, all these metal rock groups?" And the disciple looked back and said, "Well, yeah, I love them." And the guru was telling the disciple, That can be your meditation. Go dance. Go dance and rock out. And the moment you're exhausted from dancing, sit. Enjoy the silence. And it was a beautiful thing I learned because I love dancing. I love it. I do it every day. And I had no idea you could make dancing a meditation. Because I got so used to, just sitting down and breathing in, breathing out. And there's these teachers like Osho saying, you should dance. You should sing. So I always loved that. And of course, I got really into doing like japa meditation, chanting specific mantras throughout the day.
Do you have a
But
favorite mantra?
favorite mantra? For a long time, I chanted the Hare Krishna mantra. Yep. For when it went to Buddhist outside of that, my go-to mantra, the first mantra I practiced for God knows how long, Om Mani Padme Hum. I did that one every day. There's a lot of mantras out there, though, and I always tell people go with the one that you resonate with.
Yeah, and
Taking is important. If you're interested in that, of course do it, but go with what resonates with you. Because the Hare Krishnas are going to tell you Krishna's the best, the Shiva people is going to tell you Shiva's the best, etc. And I always tell people, no, the best is just what works for you. Don't listen to anybody else. They give you advice. It's up to you to take the advice. Even from me or Osho, we give you advice. It's the choice you make. Take it or leave it.
yeah, that's always what I feel as well. Is first, like, all the scriptures are good, all the teachers are good, but I think the first teacher should be your own soul. Like, what feels
That's
good,
right.
what feels right to you, and then that can kind of be your guide.
Yep. So going back on it, there's 4 gurus. I'm not going to get to the first 2, not really important to the conversation, but I'll get to the 2 that matter. There's Shiksha and Diksha guru, right? That's the guru that you take initiation with and you serve, right? In my case, it's Osho. I'm not sure who your guru is, but of course that'd be your guru that you serve, yes.
Yeah, well, I
And
have
then there's
a guru named
and
Sri
then
Sri
there's
Nandamurti.
okay, all right. I know who that is a little bit. We'll talk about that actually. And then there's what we would know as Chaita Guru, which is Guru of the Heart. Guru of the Heart meaning, like you said, your soul, or if you want to call it Krishna, you can call it Krishna if you want. That inner soul. The inner Guru. So there's the Guru you serve, which is Shiksha and Diksha Guru, the Guru you take initiation under. And then Chaita Guru, inner Guru. Which is the most important Guru, actually. Because that's the Guru that you were born with. Yes.
Definitely. All these ideas, we can kind of become lost in them if we are just reading and it's not experiential. But it's nice when you have all of these guide markers, all these ideas, and you can use that. You can use your soul as a guide and let those be kind of helping sort of factors. Definitely. So, what do you think about today, the world? Maybe shift topics a little bit. Um, the world is so. Do you think that it's easier in the modern world to become spiritual? Do you think it's harder for modern people?
That's a really good question. Years ago, I think it was harder to find a guru, for example, because it wasn't really mainstream. You'd have to travel to find them if you were really lucky. Today, it's a little bit easier because, I'm a Swami sitting with you today, and you met your guru probably the same way through the technological world, right? So, in some ways, it is easier having the technology today, being able to find your guru that way or discover meditations. And then in other ways, it is also harder because with the more technology we have, there's a lot of misinformation. So much misinformation. And not only in the spiritual world, but when you have things at the click of a button, you get that 6 second attention span and you're not going to even be aware.
Hmm.
And then there's a lot of gurus out there, swamis out there, teachers out there. What do? They just promote. I was talking about this on my live, is that it lit one of my moderators up on there on TikTok when I remembered their birth name, not their spiritual name, their birth name. And the reason why it lit them up is because if you go to a guru now, especially like any of the modern gurus we have, they have like 10,000 some disciples, maybe more, and they don't know squat about you. How are you supposed to connect with the guru like that? How are you supposed to learn from them? It's impossible. So, in a lot of ways, I'm very grateful for technology because we can get out there more. But then we have to also learn discernment. So, for everybody that does watch this interview, I say use a lot of discernment. So much.
It's good advice. It's very good advice.
So it's on both levels, the old world of spirituality and then the new world. It,
Yeah, it's
both are
probably
good.
some ways it's easier, some ways it's harder. Like you said, the
Yeah.
technology can be very helpful, but also maybe, back then I would have been repeating my mantra, all day instead of scrolling all day or something. So
Yep.
maybe there's some trade-offs.
Technology is a great gift if you're aware, right? But a lot of people, they have that phone in their hand and everything like that. Recently in the news, there was a woman that was awarded a bunch of money actually because she sued the social media companies for being too addictive. And it went to show me, like, number one, frivolous lawsuits exist. You can win pretty much anything. But also, number two, we have to learn how to use the technology to our advantage. And especially with children, right? Children need to get outside more and all that stuff. Play with toys again or whatever. I'm not saying TV is bad or technology is bad. My parents raised me with it. I was born in the generation where I had technology at my fingertips. But I also had game night every night with my mom and dad, and they showed me how to play outside and everything like that without the iPad in the hand or whatever. So I also encourage people to connect back to themselves, connect back to nature. Technology is great. It's a great tool. You can connect with your guru. You can connect with me, even just like how we're doing now on our interview. But you also have to take a break. You have to disconnect. Don't be like that woman who got awarded a lot of money because she got addicted and didn't know how to take a break.
It's good
Take
advice.
a
Very
break
good
every once in a
advice.
while, guys.
That's definitely the advice the world needs right now.
And I know it's going to be harsh for a lot of people to hear that because people are addicted to their phone. But I always tell people, and I always make the joke, like when I was growing up, my mom and dad didn't give me a phone. When I was in the bathroom, I had to grab the soap bottle to read. But now all of you guys are taking the phone in the bathroom and playing Candy Crush. Go back to the good old days and read the soap bottle.
Yeah,
It's
those were the
just
days.
it's a silly little joke, but it lies a lot. People being in the bathroom for hours on end, addicted to the phone. Hmm.
Yeah, for me, I kind of always wonder how things have changed, whether it's been me growing up. You know, biggest changes, some of the biggest changes for me were when like phones came out, and also like smartphones, and also um, when I started my spiritual path. So I wonder, was it just me growing up, and then like things changed, or was it actually, was it the internal change or the external changes? But I really do think that it was a different world before the iPhone, and also for me internally before my spiritual journey started. So
Yeah, no, I agree. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, like I said, technology is great. We just have to know how to use it to our advantage.
did
You
you
know, and you made a really great point when you brought up doing japa. That can be a great technique for everybody in here who watches this interview with you and I. Is like instead of in the mornings going to your phone and everything like that, why not start 30 seconds of your day? Start with mantra chanting. Start with it. I think it's great advice and it'll start your day out good. I remember the Walk for Peace monks. They said the same thing. When you wake up, don't go to your phone. Wake up, make your bed, go to the bathroom, sit in silence for a little bit when you wake up. And then after that silence, go on with your day, make your breakfast or whatever, but don't immediately go to the phone.
Yeah, that's very good advice.
Because what's the first thing you're going to see on your phone when you wake up? Well, you're going to see the president make crazy statements. That's going to start your day off real right. Or you're going to probably see the people your enemies message you being like, I don't like you, and they want to start drama. Number two. So it's like, do you really want to start your day off with those two things? The news being blasted in your face and drama at your doorstep? Or would you rather start your day off with peace, love, harmony? And through that peace, love, and harmony, the world changes around you. Which we desperately need more of. We need more peacemakers. We need more change in the world.
Well said. Did you hold any kind of beliefs or understandings about spirituality that have shifted on your path? Maybe you saw reality in one way and then it changed it evolved into something else? Or how has your spiritual path progressed?
I will say, when I first started, a couple years in, there's this thing you develop called ego. Spiritual ego, where you think you know everything. You think you are the guru, you want to help everyone, but you're not really helping everyone because you're serving from your ego and your mind because you know books, right? Like, well, I read this in a book, so over time I learned to put my ego to the side and use my heart and use compassion. Because that was a big problem for me is ego. And also another thing was I hated every religion, every religious person I met, especially the Abrahamic people. Because, I had the mindset of a Sanatani, a Hindu and a Buddhist. Like, all of you guys started all the wars, all of you guys are arguing all the time. What's wrong with you? So I had a disdain towards them, right? And then I realized over time, like, they're just the same as me. They just love God. They love Buddha. They just want to help everyone. And I always lead everyone to the one song that really changed my life recently. And it's a song by Paul McCartney, Ebony and Ivory. Ebony and Ivory.
I like that you bring up Paul McCartney. You definitely have the hippie kind of vibe, which I'm actually really enjoying right now. I was
Thank you.
looking back at it was some interview I think that was kind of going around with this hippie girl, and I was just the vibes. I was just like, oh, I wish that was around more today again. So
My parents and I joke about that a lot. Is I went from crazy religious going into Buddhist monkhood, that kind of path. Then I went to hippie. Then I went religious. Well, then I went back to hippie because 90% of people that followed the guru was a hippie. It was just the way of the world in the 70s and everything like that. Right, and those were the people I grew up around in Indiana, right? Is like the farmers, the hippies, you know? No one in Indiana was really, I don't know, advanced, you could say. We were the country bumpkins, and still are, the rednecks of the world. So that's kind of where I'm at today now that you bring it up. It's just like the hippie kid. Free love. And no, you're right, is like, what do they call us today? The New Agers? I think that's
New
the
Age.
term. And I was in the New Age movement for a while, but then I realized that the New Age people don't care about free love or anything like that. Some of them do, and there's some great peoples. But what I noticed was business.
Mm.
They were doing tarot reading, they were selling crystals, they were selling oils. And sure, I do that every now and then. We all do. But they wanted profit.
Right, it's the incentive which is different.
It's different. And a lot of people noticed that in the New Age movement. And that's why a lot of people got turned away by the hippie movement, is because, oh, they just want profit. And that's not what the original movement was about. The original movement started in 1969 when the Vietnam War started. And knowing what's going on in the world right now, I have a great feeling that the movement's going to start back up again, where people are going to protest more and, you know, bring their skirts back out and their mala beads because they don't like what they're seeing in the world right now. And I can't blame them. I can't blame them at all. Change needs to happen, and the first step to change is speaking out. And I encourage everyone to do that. You power over the voice. And that's what all the gurus did, after all. Think about it this way. Us Sanatanis, none of us would be here without Adi Shankaracharya. A young man. 16-year-old kid. Younger. Without him, we wouldn't even have our scriptures today. But he saved them. Because he decided to take a leap of faith. And that's what I think most people should do. Especially if you're young like me or a wonderful host here. Take a leap.
Hmm.
Because I see a lot of people complain. Complaining never got anyone anywhere. No one. You want the world to change? Start with yourself.
That's good advice. The sage tries to the fool tries to change the world, but the sage tries to change himself. Yeah.
Yeah, you have beautiful questions. I feel I'm rambling on a little bit, but I try to be thorough so everybody gets helped as best as they can. I don't
No,
want to
no,
give
you're doing
short
great.
answers.
No, you're doing great.
You know, when I sat with a lot of different spiritual people, that's what they gave. They gave me short answers. And it's like, it didn't help me. They didn't even, they would give a crazy answer to a simple question. Like, why is the sky blue? It's like, you could just give me the simple answer. Or how do I do this meditation? And then they go into a whole different tangent instead of answering the question. So I want everybody's questions to be answered properly instead of those crazy teachers that never really answer the question.
No, it's good. I think our pauses are just in different times, and I don't want to interrupt you or. Yeah, it's good.
Oh,
We're
you're doing
flowing.
great. Although it reminds me of Ram Dass, actually. Going back to the crazy answer thing, Ram Dass, Krishna Das, and then their guru was Neem Karoli Baba, right? The Blanket Baba. I think a lot of you guys know who that is because I've talked about him a lot, and you might know him too. And whenever anybody would ask him a question, he would always just give them short, sweet answers. Like, I remember hearing Ram Dass give this story, or Krishna Das, I can't remember. And they went to him and asked, Baba, 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 how do I raise my Kundalini? And he said, serve people. And, Krishna Das or Ram Dass got angry at that for a long time, saying, serve people? What the hell? That's crazy. And then over time when they practiced, they realized, like, oh, serving people is most important. Not Kundalini raising, not that, but just helping humanity. The true bhakti of the world. So sometimes your teachers give you answers that don't matter in the moment and you meditate on them, but they matter later. They matter later.
So if somebody is just starting off on the spiritual path, what would you recommend to them? What would you recommend to them?
Beautiful question. Find a guru, find a guide. They know the way. But most importantly, start with the basics. Breathing in and breathing out. I know a lot of people hearing that are going to be saying, but I've been breathing my whole life. Yes, you have. But you haven't been aware while doing it. In fact, let's take 30 seconds and do that together, guys.
Yeah.
So everybody can practice, like a short meditation, so everybody can notice. What I want everybody to do is put your hands together, actually, and like a prayer hands. Like to your chest. Close your eyes. And just focus on your breath. Breathing in. And breathing in. And I'll keep track of the time. You notice the air going into your body, nice and cool, light as a feather. Breathing in. Nice and slow. And slowly open your eyes and come back to the present moment.
Yeah. That's it right there.
Right there. And I always tell people, the moment you open your eyes, I want you to notice the first 3 things in the room. What's the first 3 things you notice? It's a simple exercise, but it's that simple exercise that you begin to notice everything in your worldview. The greatest thing I ever told somebody and the greatest thing I ever learned was when I was friends with an artist. And I have one of their paintings on the wall somewhere in here. And they told me this and we started talking about this and then I made a quote and a poem out of it. If you really truly want to appreciate anything in life, all the art around you, you have to take a step back. If you're too close to something, you'll miss every detail. You'll miss all the important things. And it's the same thing with spirituality. The moment you're too close and unaware, you miss everything in the room. Everything. Ain't it beautiful?
Definitely. Definitely. That is a very important part to notice, to be calmness, relaxation. It's very important. I think that practice, this anapanasati, it's related to shamatha. Yeah. It's also related to shamatha, which is literally calmness, abiding. So yeah.
And it's a really important thing everybody does simple practices like that because a lot of people I meet, they tell me, well, I have an unregulated nervous system, I have anxiety, I have depression. And the first question I ask them is, what are you doing in a day? It's such a simple question, but they give me crazy answers. Like, well, I start my day off drinking a Monster Energy drink. Then I rush into work. And like, oh, so you're telling me you have anxiety, you have high blood pressure and everything like that, and you can't sleep at night? Don't you think maybe it had to do with how you started your day? That Monster Energy drink, was that a good call? I'm like, no, no. I probably could have did something different. And that's how a lot of people are. They don't notice things. But then you have somebody intervene in your life, whether it's your mother, your father, your guru, you name it, and they give you a different perspective and fresh eyes. That's why in Sanatana Dharma, when we meet our guru, we give what's called obediences, right? Pranams and all that, bowing at their lotus feet, and we say, well, thank you, Guruji, for opening my darkened eyes. Because most of us, half of our lives, we're doing the same thing for 20 years. Or 10, or however long you've been doing it, unaware. And then now you're on the spiritual path, right? Well, guess what? The things you did for all of those years are having drastic effects on your life now. You just didn't know. The fortunate thing is, it's not too late to change. It's not too late to grow. I think I had a family member that told me once is that the moment you stop growing is the moment you're in the grave.
Hmm.
Which is very profound, right? Because everybody likes to think they have it all figured out. And you never truly do. You just learn something new each day. So for all the people my age out there that are in college right now or younger than me, maybe in high school or whatever, and worrying so much, like, I haven't figured it out, I haven't figured it out. It's okay. There's 80-year-old people right now still figuring it out, still trying new things. Just like me, I never thought I'd be interviewed by a great friend today and a new friend, but here we are. You take chances, you take leaps of faith, like I mentioned earlier in the interview. Remember, guys, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Hmm.
Take the chance to meditate with us like we just did. Take a chance. If a Hare Krishna invites you to do kirtan, take the opportunity. You might have a little bit of fun.
That's a good opportunity.
Good opportunity. You don't have to like the Guru that started the foundation. It's okay. I know I don't. They pressured me to buy books once. I wasn't interested. Another important thing, as you'll notice with me throughout the interview and for all the people that see this, is I have a sense of humor. I see a lot of Gurus and Swamis out there. They ain't got no sense of humor. They're not funny. They're really dry. Greatest piece of advice I can tell anybody that I learned while suffering in my own depressions in life, and even last year when I was about to be homeless on the streets, is have a sense of humor. If you laugh through life, you'll make it. If you're sitting in front of a master, greatest advice I can give literally everyone, sit with them like your life depends on it. Cling to every word they're saying. Every single word, cling to them. That's what we know as Amrita, which means nectar. Nectar that goes into you. And through that nectar of their divine words, that's what's going to bring you to higher consciousness. That's what's going to bring you to heart. That's what's going to bring you to this. You can ask questions about Osho if you'd like. I know a lot of people are curious about him. Because in the beginning of the interview, you mentioned you listened to them a bit. If you have any questions or anything like that, please ask.
Yeah, I really like Osho. I've listened to a lot of his talks online. Maybe I'll send you one of my favorite of his after this. Maybe you have one also. Nothing is really coming to mind right now. One thing that was coming to mind was when earlier we were talking about the ego. And I feel like the best solution to the ego is mantra, is this japa, this chanting. Because when you're thinking about something external, or you're thinking about God, you're thinking about something other than yourself, lots of the times in like Christian environments, a lot of the times they think that the opposite of ego or pride or something like that is humility, which would mean to think of yourself as lesser than. But actually, one Christian quote I actually really like is that humility is not to think less of yourself, but it's actually to think of yourself less. So you think about something other, like God or other people or stuff like that. So that's something that was in my mind a little bit.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, you're right. And that's why a lot of the times is that the guru will give you something to fixate on, right? So your mind doesn't wander. A lot of people talk about ego death, right? I don't talk about that much. I talk about controlling your ego. Because ego isn't necessarily a bad thing, only if it's uncontrolled, right? It goes back to something Ram Dass taught. Because I love him. I adore Ram Dass. Somebody asked him about anger and ego, lust, and all that, and he replied back, "Oh, I love my lust. Well, I love my anger. I love my ego." And the reason for that is like, love every part of you. Just accept yourself as you are. Don't get rid of parts of you. They'll eventually dissolve. They'll dissolve. Don't worry. The spiritual ego is just a test to see if you're ready for the spiritual path. Anybody that watches this interview, please, if you want to reach out to me or Adi, both of our contacts are available. You can reach him on Discord. I have a link tree available. You can reach me everywhere. I have so many offerings that I'm giving right now. You know, I recently wrote a book. I started giving sannyas to people in Diksha and all that. So the goal is, guys, I want all of you guys to tune into love, tune into heart. The back to the hippie method, right?